Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my parents' basement, your parents' basement, our parents' basement, and today we're talking about Copland. Copland is a 1997 film written and directed by James Mangold. Now, he went on to do films such as The Wolverine, Logan, Ford vs. Ferrari, which you may or may not have heard about, and he is also being looked at as possibly the person to take over directing Indiana Jones 5. The film stars an ensemble cast of Sylvester Stallone, Harvey Keitel, Ray Liotta, and Robert De Niro. This film also has a stellar supporting cast as well, but there's so many people, there's no time to list them, but it is, from top to bottom, really well acted with a bunch of great actors. And before I get into this, I want to say this real quick. Ray Liotta is absolutely awesome in this movie. When I was watching it, I thought about Goodfellas and how he kind of gets overshadowed by Joe Pesci and Robert De Niro. But in this film, every scene he's in, he kind of just like, he probably is the best act. Like his acting performance is probably the strongest in each scene that he's in. And this is probably my favorite movie that he's in. So yeah, my favorite performance by far, I think, for him, and probably my favorite movie that he's in. The film follows the sheriff of a small New Jersey town populated by New York police officers as he begins to discover the town's true side as a front for the mob and is really filled with corruption. Let me start off by saying this is a fantastic movie, alright? This is a great movie, just a really well-acted, well-directed, well-written movie. But I have one major complaint. And this is something that I probably don't, like, this is something you probably wouldn't think someone would complain about. But I think for this movie and for everything that it had, you have to say this. For me, this movie was not nearly long enough. There's a lot of like subplots that don't get wrapped up. The ending is like, it doesn't feel rushed, but like looking back on it, like in the moment it doesn't feel rushed. But looking back on it, there's like so much more they could have done in it, and you can really see how rushed it was in hindsight. Now going back and rewatching it, you probably wouldn't care that much because this movie, like I said, is fantastic. But I feel almost robbed of all the content and all the stuff that could have been in had it been 20 minutes longer. There's a build-up to the shootout, if you can call it that. And I feel like the suspense wasn't quite built up well enough. I feel like it could have been done a lot better to make it feel that much more intense. And like I said, there's a bunch of subplots that I don't feel get the conclusion that they deserve. And the ending, I wish, would have gave me a little bit more to life after this scenario that takes place. So the film stars Sylvester Stallone, and this was Stallone's attempt to be taken more of a serious actor. He gained 40 pounds for the role of playing this beat-up alcoholic sheriff. And obviously it's a more dramatic role. So this was his attempt to become a serious actor and get away from the spotlight of the typical action hero movies he had done, I don't know if you would say Rambo, but the series that kind of turned into that, Cobra, Demolition Man, Judge Dredd, Cliffhanger, and kind of take a more serious approach to his career. Now, though this movie is a critical and commercial success, Stallone said he really couldn't get a movie role for like the next 8 years, and he says because he thought the expectations might have been too high for the movie. To me, I think this movie is fantastic. I've always liked Sylvester Stallone as an actor. If you ever go back and rewatch, or when you watch Rocky, that movie wasn't a real action movie. He acts really, really well in that film. I think he got an Academy Award nomination for Creed now, but you know that's 20 years later. So I can't foresee how maybe people forgot that he was a really solid actor. But he is really great in this movie, and so is everybody else. This is just a super well-acted movie. Like I said earlier, it's also really well-directed. There's a lot of suspense that is built up really well. But I think the thing it does best from a directing standpoint is create suspicion. And obviously it's about corruption and mob connections with police, so there's dirty cops all around. And it does a really good job, from the opening seconds, it does a really good job of creating suspicion through Sylvester Stallone's facial expressions, watching certain things unfold, through people's actions and how the camera tells the story. Just really well done, and I think that's an important thing in these movies that I really there's plenty of cop corruption movies, but I don't think they're ever directed in a way that makes you suspicious about things and makes you like think twice about someone's intentions. And I think Copland does that really well. James Mangold does a really great job of directing that make you suspicious. And I think that's a very underused thing in movies like this. But at the same time, there isn't really a movie like this. Now, when I say there isn't really a movie like this, it's in essence a mob movie, but there really isn't many mobsters in it. There's a lot of, we see obviously when I listed the main cast, there's a lot of people from mob movies like Goodfellas, Casino. There's some people from Sopranos in this. So there's a lot of connections to the gangster genre in this film. But I love the interesting spin on it where it's the police side of things and not like the corrupt police, not the police trying to bring down the gangsters, but the police helping the gangsters and with the connections to the gangsters. And I really like that because out of all the there's probably only one other movie I could list, Departed, that does that, where we see the police connections to the mob. And I thought that was that's a very underused thing in movies. You would think you would see that more. So I really like that aspect of it. This movie does a great job of pretty much everything it does. Like I said, my only complaint with this movie is that I wish it was longer, because it's really well acted, really well directed. Everything, the writing is phenomenal because everything matters. And I love a movie where if you're paying attention, you are rewarded with the tie-ins and the callbacks to stuff earlier. That's what makes a movie stand out to you in not only rewatching it but thinking about it. When it ends and you can go back and think, oh, that's why that was, that's why this happened, that's what he was doing. And this movie is filled with those, and I really do admire them. There's great payoffs, great moments. I really enjoy this movie, and I can't foresee why more people don't talk about it, because it's probably one of the better, like I'd hate to say this was like a gangster genre movie, but it's probably one of the best in that genre that I've ever seen. I loved everything about this movie. It was a really great movie. Like I could rewatch this movie right now. I highly recommend this film. Sylvester Stallone really is great in this movie, and I can't understand why people wouldn't cast him after. I would cast him before this, I'd cast him after this, I'd cast him now. Sylvester Stallone is like one of those guys where you just feel sorry for him. He can play someone that you feel sorry for, that you care about, that you want to see rise out of the situation. And there's some really great moments. I don't want to spoil anything. There's some really great moments throughout this movie. And that's part of the reason why I wish it was longer, to see what happens to him. Because you grow to care about him, you grow to like him, appreciate him, and you kind of wonder what happens after all this for Sylvester Stallone's character. But everyone acts greatly in this movie. It's phenomenally directed, greatly written. I highly recommend checking out Copland. With all that said, I've been reviewing movies for quite a few months on here, and I've never really officially given out ways to say what I thought of a movie. I say I like it or I didn't like it, I say some stuff, and then I wrap it up. I never really give something at the end for you to take away. So people rate movies on star ratings, 1 out of 10, all that stuff. I feel like the best way to do it is a grading system, because when I feel like, what's the difference between an 8 out of 10 and a 7 out of 10? And I know you could say, well, that's just like a C and a C plus or a B or whatever. But I feel like when I do a grading scale, I feel like the understanding and the understanding from your part of, oh, that's what he thought about the movie, and the choosing from my part just makes it a little bit easier to grade. And therefore, drumroll please, just kidding, maybe I would give Copland an A-. I was debating between an A- and a B+ because I like everything about this movie except for that fact. There's another silly part, but to be hung up on that is kind of foolish. Kind of would be. I think it would take away. It wouldn't be worth effort and time. So I think at the end of the day, the only real complaint I have about this movie is that it wasn't long enough, and I think that's what hinders it from being an A or an A+. Because there's some stuff that I would have liked to see drawn out. I know you could say that it's left for the viewer to decide what happens, but I feel like there was things that were going places that kind of just get caught up in the rest of the movie and are never really fulfilled. And they play crucial parts of the movie, and they had to be in there, but I feel like a wrap-up to them would have been nice to see. So that's the only reason I would give it an A- instead of an A or A+. Because I don't know if it was because they only wanted the movie to be a certain length, or because James Mangold himself doesn't feel like it was necessary, but I do wish that this movie was longer, because there's a lot of stuff that I wish I could have seen pay off and wrap up. But beyond that, this movie is truly incredible. I really did like this movie a lot. I don't know how much more I can rave about the great acting. Robert De Niro's character is awesome. Really great movie. Really, really great movie. And yeah, I enjoyed it quite a bit. So guys, I do highly recommend Copland. Let me know in the comments below if you've seen it, what's your thoughts on it, and if you haven't seen it, definitely do check it out. It is a truly great movie. But anyway, guys, leave some stuff in the comments below, and we will see you next time in Our Parents' Basement.